someone who I know, like my child or friend or whoever, has told me that they're a furry, or they're interested in the furry fandom. What on earth does that mean? Hello everyone, it's Iolite. Welcome to the video. Today, I want to explain to those of you who might not particularly understand what the furry fandom is, and how the furry fandom can be a positive thing for those who enjoy it. If you know someone who's interested in the furry fandom, you might be curious as to what it's all about. But don't worry, because I'm here to try and clear up some misconceptions and generally explain why being a furry can be a great hobby. First things first, what exactly is the furry fandom? Essentially, furries are people who are interested in anthropomorphic animals, which means animals with human characteristics, such as talking, walking on two legs, wearing clothes, etc, etc. Think Disney characters like Mickey Mouse or Simba from The Lion King, or even Nick Wilde from Zootopia, or all of those characters from the Sing films. Those kinds of things, you know. This interest can manifest in many different ways, such as creating art, writing stories, or even dressing up in animal costumes, known as fursuits, which is what this is. For many furries, it's a way to express themselves and connect with others who share their interests. By the way, if you've come to this video of your own accord to actually learn about what being a furry is about, then congratulations, you've already taken a good first step, because listening to an actual furry, instead of all of those strange news articles, is a very good start. Now, hopefully at this point you're thinking, okay, that sounds harmless enough, but you might also be thinking, why exactly would you choose to be part of a really strange furry fandom instead of maybe a more conventional hobby? Well, there are actually a lot of reasons why people find it appealing as a hobby. For one, it's a great way to make friends and connect with like-minded individuals. Many furries feel like they don't quite fit into mainstream society or into mainstream hobbies, so finding a community who accepts them for who they are can be incredibly validating and quite comforting. Another reason why being interested in the furry fandom is a positive thing is that it encourages creativity and self-expression. Whether it's through creating art, writing, or even designing these animal costumes, again, they're called fursuits, furries are often very passionate about their hobby and put a lot of effort into it. They can be a great outlet for people who might not have a creative outlet otherwise. Of course, as with any hobby, especially ones again that are a little bit unconventional, there are bound to be a few negative aspects or very out there rumours that have been completely made up or blown out of proportion. You might have heard some stories about furries engaging in strange or inappropriate behaviour. First and foremost, I would like to say that the furry fandom does not accept abusers in their community. Anyone claiming to be a part of the furry fandom who also claims to be someone like a zoophile, for example, are not welcome in the fandom. They'll be ostracised by the rest of the fandom. We don't want them there. We don't accept that kind of behaviour. Again, anyone claiming to be a part of the fandom whilst also engaging in that kind of behaviour is not welcome. And yes, there is an NSFW side to the furry fandom. Of course there is. There is that sort of thing with almost every hobby on planet Earth to some degree. But it is a small minority, and you don't have to get involved in it, and it's basically completely avoidable if you want it to be. Not everyone is part of that side at all whatsoever. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but not everyone's part of it, basically. And no, furries do not believe that they are actually animals. That is an entirely different subculture on its own, and whilst there is a little bit of overlap very occasionally, most furries don't believe they're actually animals. We just like dressing up as them because it's fun. And if you're worried about your, like, I don't know, 8-year-old child who keeps going around pretending to be a dog or a cat or whatever, I have some news for you. Children tend to do that anyway. You know, when kids play like mums and dads or whatever, and then there's no more roles for them to fill, so the kid just becomes a dog or whatever. Or, you know, kids just like to pretend to be animals anyway. It's part of the fun of being a child. It has absolutely nothing to do with the furry fandom, and whilst maybe later in life they might find an interest later on in the furry fandom, children do just do that sort of thing. And I promise you it's probably nothing furry related. And even if it is, there's no harm in that, as I've just explained through this entire video. But just remember that the abusive behaviour that some people do show, even though they claim to be a furry, we don't accept them in the fandom. And also these people are a very small minority. The vast majority of furries are just regular people who happen to have an interest in anthropomorphic animals. So if you do know someone who's interested in the furry fandom as a hobby, what can you do to support them? Well, firstly, I would say to try and keep an open mind and be willing to learn more about the hobby. Ask your friend or child or whoever it is about what it means to them and why they enjoy it, and I don't know, you might be surprised by what you learn. It is also important to remember that being interested in the furry fandom might become quite a large part of their life, but it is not everything in their life. I promise they won't probably believe that they actually think they're an animal and they want a litter tray in the school toilets. Where did that come from? You just might notice a bit more animal related artwork and things around your house or around their house. It is just one aspect of that person's hobbies, and they are still the same person that they were before they discovered the furry fandom. It's just a hobby. But I lied. If furries don't believe that they're actually animals, why do they call themselves furries and don't just say they're just part of the furry fandom? Yes, okay, furry is sort of like an identifying label of sorts, but most hobbies do have those things as well. Say you're into fishing. What are you called if you're into fishing? You're an angler. If you like the furry fandom, you're a furry. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean anything more than just that. That's it. So don't worry that your friend or whatever is going to become like obsessed with furries and then forget everything else. And even if they did, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they will probably have other hobbies and stuff as well. Or at least you can try and be supportive of your friend or your child or whoever it is, even if you don't fully understand their interest. If they are interested in attending a furry convention or meeting up with other furries in the local area, try to be supportive and help them make it happen. Obviously check if there's any age restrictions, because if they're too young they might not be able to go to those sorts of events, but otherwise help them out with it. You might even find that you enjoy attending events with them and learning more about the furry fandom with your own two eyes. I know my mum enjoys it, and I know she watches these videos. Hello. So basically, at the end of the day, the furry fandom is just a positive hobby for many people, and if you do know someone who's interested in it, try to keep an open mind and be supportive of their interests. Remember that they don't actually probably think they are an animal, they are just interested in anthropomorphic animals, and that's it. Actually believing you're like spiritually an animal is a totally different thing that I would make a video on, but I'm not really qualified to because I don't know anything about it really. And also remember that there is a whole community of people out there who also share their interests, and that we are a pretty welcoming and safe space, and it is normally just a way for them to have a creative outlet that's honestly quite fun. Well done, you made it to the end of the video. I hope that this helped you to understand what being a furry is. If this did help you, then feel free to share it with people who also might be curious as to what being a furry actually is. If you believe this is going to be a video that helps people who you know understand it, then feel free to share it with them. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and similarly, if you believe that I've missed anything out, feel free to ask them down there as well. And if you enjoyed this video and you want me to make more videos, and you want me to know that you want me to make more videos, then pressing subscribe will help me out immensely. But that's it, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye everyone.